Hello everybody, Dave Neal here, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor. Recap, A Guy's Review, which premieres June 1st, 2021. Can you believe that? Right after Memorial Day weekend. Just 7 short weeks away. I hope everyone's doing well out there. You'd be an idiot if you didn't know what topic we would be speaking about this morning. It is Rachael Kirkconnell and Matt James spotted in New York City. Of course, yesterday these photos came out. Like I said, it looks like the Zabruta film. We've got some blurry Bigfoot action happening here. We have Matt James on the left, Rachael Kirkconnell on the right. So it's been said. We got to love, they're doing hoodies and masks, and yet you guys still were able to figure it out and find out everything about them. So the question remains, now that they've been spotted in New York City, is there's a lot of discussion of whether or not, he needs to take her back. She needs to take him back. People seem to be stuck on both sides of an issue that's very complicated. If they truly were falling in love, obviously they have good feelings for each other. They've got a lot that they need to repair in the sense that he's got to build his trust back with her. Plus, he's got to, in some ways or another, speak to a community where he's able to show that Rachael is an asset, not a liability, that Rachael is doing good work with her platform to help bring people along her journey. And this is what I've always said is very important. Again, topics like cancel culture can be very much like a knee-jerk reaction. People, you're either for it or you're against it. There's no such thing as cancel. We're accountability. Whatever you want to call it. You deal with the semantics on your end. For me, in instances where you can rehab somebody's opinion into a more progressive place of equality, if you can take away ignorance and let others come along for the journey, you don't just rehab that person, but their entire social circle. So if Rachael Kirkconnell truly does come from a racist county in Georgia and has a family that's either bigoted or closed-minded or whatever it may be, then by showing her the light, by showing her the way her actions have marginalized certain people, you are letting her become a teacher for her people. It's the old adage, teach somebody to fish rather than just, I feel like George Bush. It's like, do unto others is if, you know the saying, you know what I mean? Whatever. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice. You know what to do. I'm literally the George Bush of, speaking of conservative comedy. This is so funny. I'm going to get into the Matt James thing, but I'll tell you what, I want to address this right now. I hate waking up, going on Reddit and immediately seeing a topic discussion about your boy, because even if like 9 people leave a nice comment, there's going to be one that cuts me to the core. So I wanted to share this with you guys because people have theorized that I'm on Reddit. My Reddit name is Dave Neal. I don't like the anonymous aspect of Reddit. I don't like the idea that people can comment random things and not have like their own character attached to it. I think it makes us become a lesser than version of ourselves, in the sense that people will just leave, really judgy, kind of toxic, mean comments. And it's like, they can just go on with their life. Sure, you have that right. But me as a stand-up comedian, as a person who does these commentary videos, my name's there. I comment with my name. I own it. So someone says, is it just me or topic Dave Neal? Let me start by saying I just discovered Dave a couple months ago. There's really so much Bachelor info out there. It's insane, and I already take in a lot. However, I do like getting the guy's perspective versus usually talking to female friends. So my disclaimer is I 100% like him. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. What I'm wondering is if anyone thinks he gets a lot of his content and topics from Reddit. I feel like I'll see something on this subreddit, then get a notification hours later from YouTube that he's uploaded a video on the same topic. Is it just me? Who's noticed and thinks this? The one thing that I thought when I read that was like, hours later? Usually I get my video up right away. But yeah, the truth is that between Instagram, Twitter, and Reddit, there's like a group sourcing of information. I wouldn't know any of this. I'm not a channel that breaks news. I hardly ever break news. I almost prefer not to. I want to comment on stories that are already existing, stories that are coming up, things that sound interesting. Of course I go on Reddit. I mean, I show it in the dang tabs. There's no hiding that whatsoever. I will say this, though. Once in a while, I will get information and not know the source to credit, and I have apologized for that in the past. One scenario where I got information and didn't have the source to credit was Batchy Gossip. Batchy Gossip is my new friend in Australia. The fact that they call Bachelor Batchy, I just love. I love my Australian friends. Batchy Gossip covers international stories within the Bachelor community, and also has been following closely Rachael Kirkconnell and Matt James. She reached out to me, and I will say this because I do love the tenacity, pretty aggressively being like, "Hey, bro, why you got to steal my content and not credit me?" And I was like, "I just Googled it on Twitter." You know what I mean? Like there was no getting what her info went viral, so there's no getting it back to where it began, but I did kind of make sure that I was sharing her content because she did have an interesting story that went down here. So for everyone who likes the international or wants to find some new content in the 7 weeks where we're not filming Bachelor, she covers South Africa, New Zealand, Australia, different Bachelor drama, and some other shows. So go give Batchy Gossip a follow over there. So she reached out to Rachael Kirkconnell, and let's just read what she had to say. "I've been holding on to this bit of info for a while out of respect for Rachael. Looks like it's out in the open now. Rachael said, I hate to even ask, but do you think you could take that last one down? Only because I want to respect Matt and don't want everyone knowing we've spoken and just want to keep it private." Now, this isn't in response to this photo. This was several weeks ago, in which Batchy Gossip had let Rachael know that her mom was an administrator on an account that was a fan page for Rachael Kirkconnell that devolved, as it always does online, into a hate forum against Matt James. So, and then this is what she says as gives that information for on the 20th of March. I had a chat to Rachael about shutting down a hate group, and she revealed to me she was in contact with Matt. I posted about it at the time, and she asked me to take it down, so I did. They are literally in New York together, so no longer a secret. Please get the facts before you start being rude to me. It's great news. I'm happy for them. What do the Matt haters have to say now? And to answer Batchy Gossip's question, what do the Matt haters have to say now? In most cases, I think people are going to dig into their point. I think the evolved thing would be to use your critical thinking skills. I know I say that critical thinking skills to, understand that the world's very complicated, and it's not just like Matt's bad, Rachael didn't do anything wrong. And sorry for the accent, but it's more complicated than that. Rachael was ignorant, if not racist, in the way she acted, even if she didn't know it. Now she's working to become as anti-racist as possible, which means not just stop doing things that might be racist, but at the same time actively doing things to stop others around her from doing racist things. She is operating from a place that's actually very good within her family roots in Georgia. This is a good thing to have her. It doesn't mean that the relationship wasn't damaged beyond repair, and we will have to see how that goes. So the relationship, the trust might have been damaged, but then those Matt haters that were upset that he wasn't sticking by her side are not looking at the context in which he is reacting to crushing news about someone he opened up to. I mean, think of it this way. Matt James had said he had never truly been in love. So he opens this guarded castle of his that he has protected. He's a jovial guy. He's got tons of friends. He's got good, relations with his family, but this close vault around his heart, he opens it a little bit. He lets somebody in. He starts to fall for them. What does he get out of it? A viral, national, if not international story about how the woman he chose to fall in love with has a history that's rooted in racism. If not that, then ignorance for sure. I'm not. We've talked about this for so long. People are going to decide what they want from it all. Rachael, as I've mentioned in the last video, has given I would say the best apology out of the Taylor Nolans, Chris Harrisons, Hannah Browns, and other apologies that have been given in Bachelor Nation. She not only made her statement, the only critique of her was that it took her a long time to address everything that happened. My thoughts still are that she wasn't speaking for herself, and that Bachelor Nation, the Bachelor producers were kind of pushing her to not comment until after the final rose because it drives up their ratings. So I think our anger at Rachael Kirkconnell is a tiny bit misguided and should actually be placed more at Bachelor producers. And, because that's kind of a faceless entity, we don't give them enough of the enough of the energy that we should, that they are the problem for instigating this rather than nipping it at the bud the day the information came out. Rachael Kirkconnell should have spoken about this the day the information came out. Some say, well, that would have ruined the spoiler, that she was the chosen one. Yeah, maybe it would have, but look at the result. You got your host, he stepped aside. There's obviously crazy racial tension, and racial tension, and they're perpetuating it by acknowledging the division, by seeing the business model that works for the big media as far as the left versus the right, and letting this play out over the course of 10 weeks, which is just insanity. For the future, when this happens, Bachelor producers, I encourage you, nip this in the bud, get people to address where they stand, denounce whatever hatred may be posted from their own social media, and move forward. This story very much wouldn't have taken on as big of a life as it has if people knew where she stood right away. But instead, rather than people having to know where she stands, everyone jumped to their own conclusions. And then when you hear her apology, you go, oh, you know what? She sounds like she means it. She sounds like she's acknowledged her racism. These are, in her apology, she acknowledges it. She's ready to move forward. She takes action. She does the performative aspect, which is just something that's part of the whole shebang. She said, I don't want to do the performative thing because you're going to call me performative. But in the end, you got to do the performative thing. You got to post about the ways you're changing. You got to do the change. And there's a lot there. So we find out today that not only is she in New York with Matt James, but that she was in contact with him throughout that process, which changes things. I'm not saying Matt James made up his feelings that after the final rose. Some people said, see, it was a whole conspiracy. This is one of the main conspiracies I'm hearing. People say, you know what? Matt James liked her. She knew it. They were going to play this game so he could please both sides. No, I don't think that's what it is at all. I think there's an actual turmoil and an actual tug of war happening within Matt's soul, where he's got people that expect him to do better than let racism fly. And then there's the other side of him that says, well, I truly love Rachael, and I don't think she's that person that she might have been several years ago. And it's going to be up to him to speak for himself. So when he posts this statement saying, I'm reading the bottom here, I will continue to process this experience, and you will hear more from me in the end. My greatest prayer is that this is an inflection point that results in real and institutional change for the better. So he's going to take his time. He's going to, people say, well, I thought he was going to take his time. We don't know. Time doesn't work in a linear path, right? So not to get all quantum on you guys, but sometimes you have these enlightenment moments where everything clicks and the way you think about things changes. The way you look at things, what's the old Wayne Dyer quote? When you look at something, the way you look at it changes. I think I messed that up. But the idea is that when you look closely at an issue or problem, you'll change the way you think about it with new information. And that doesn't take years it could, but a lot of times you can be hit upside the head with a moment where you go, oh, it's like in politics. If you get someone like Bernie Sanders, who I think is great at dismantling a lot of propaganda about him, he's really great at being like a working class, we're here for you. Let's, when you hear him explain something so simply, it's easy for him to get people on his side because you go, you got a point there. You got a point. We are getting a raw deal. I don't know why I brought politics into this, but I did want to say this. I did want to talk quickly about a few things. So there was this thread about me. And again, I know it's very narcissistic for me to even read this, but you try not to read a thread about you guys. There was somebody that's conservative. Let's see. To be honest, I don't always agree with him. In my opinion, he tends to err on the more conservative side, but I appreciate that he always seems open for discussion. And isn't like Nick V, who has to be right all the time. I would totally agree. He does lean conservative, as do I. For the record, and then this is what I posted. For the record, and maybe there are social issues where I see conservative points. It doesn't mean I agree with them. You can see some conservative points and not agree with them. I think you need to see points of others in order to be able to refute them. I look at this as a comic. If I'm going to make a joke and someone's going to heckle me in the audience, I want to know what they're going to heckle before they do it. I want to know what the other viewpoint is before they do it, so that way I can better prosecute my opinion. So Anyway, and maybe there are social issues where I see conservative points or let a conservative make a point. I'm progressive. Get all my trusted news from Crystal Ball and am a gigantic fan of Bernie Sanders. I'd be happy to discuss where I am perceived to have conservative leanings, though. But it's for sure not conservative of me to be pro-choice, pro-prison reform, pro-voter rights reform, pro-BLM, pro-Medicare for all, pro-$15 national minimum wage, pro-marginal tax on the ultra-wealthy, and I've been a member of a union for 15 years. I don't know. Not at all conservative. So, some people said they don't trust my energy, and like, that's on you. I almost respect people that are like, I'm suspect of this guy. Sure, absolutely. I'll either prove you wrong or you'll ignore me. My favorite was someone who goes, man, YouTube keeps recommending this guy to me. I've already unsubscribed. Like, thank you so much, YouTube, for that. I appreciate so much that YouTube is pushing my content. It's not me. I'm not posting on the Reddits promoting my content. I did one, but like, I know it's going to just be a platform for hate against me. And I just don't want that. I don't want that in my life. YouTube comments for the most part are way more, I think, respectful. I don't know. I don't know what it is. That's just my opinion. So my other news source that I love is the David Pakman Show. It's a progressive news channel. If you want to call him a Democrat, fine. But I just see the progressive movement completely separate from the Democratic base. Like, I see it as a different thing. So if you want to operate on a left versus right, Democrat versus Republican, sure. But in my belief, there's a lot of people that are pro-progressive movements that might actually still be in the Republican Party. And I say, whoever wants to come and hear the good word of David Pakman, go for it. So David Pakman, and then the other one is The Hill, which is Crystal Ball, who is my favorite. I love Crystal Ball, and of course Sagar. So Crystal and Sagar, she represents a left-leaning side, and he's a right-leaning side, and they have interesting conversations, and they're not run by big media sponsorships. They'll get to the truth. So I really appreciate independent news. And a couple questions that you guys asked. Oh, I'm kind of running out of time here. So let's just read a few comments. I'm curious about the power dynamic in this new relationship, Rachael and Matt. He really went in on her, wouldn't hug her or even really look at her in front of the entire world. Yes, her past choices hurt him, but it wasn't a direct, intentional choice to hurt him personally. He did not cover her and let the world hugely sway him and threw her to the wolves. I can't help but wonder how they move on, heal completely from their two wrongs. While he was operating within his right to not speak, he's disassociated himself from Bachelor producers, from the whole Bachelor franchise. Like, I don't think he's talked about Bachelor or thanked them or anything since the show ended, which is his right. So maybe he just didn't want to have that conversation on their dime. Maybe he was obligated to show up, for the paycheck to clear, but he was going to wait to have that conversation on his own. We don't know. So we don't know. Was she thrown to the wolves? I think at that point, Rachael Kirkconnell could handle it. And maybe he said, like, look, you speak your piece, I'll speak mine, and let's just talk in a few weeks. We don't know. Chrissy said, it's beautiful when love supersedes negativity. I hope this is a teachable moment for us all. We make mistakes, learn, and are better for it. You are always on it. I'm always like, can't hide from Dave. He taught you. I appreciate your positivity. At the end, I agree. Love and growth is what we should root for together. And if Matt trusts her, then we should. Yeah, we should just hope for the best in them, understand they're both grown adults and that they're going to try their best to do the right thing. And this is something I tell people all the time. And this is something that lets me be able to read some negative comments and understand that while that's their respectable opinion, I'm still going to go on my path. It is this. And I'm about to say the very simple thing to you guys. We have to operate under the standard that we think everybody is trying the best with the information that they have, whether it's someone you agree with or disagree with. For the most part, in this world of survival, people are trying the best with the information they have. If you think you've got better information than them, let them know. I think I've got better information with the David Pakman Show. I think The Hill is better information. Bite-sized news in 10 minutes. I think I've got information that might help you guys out. I'm not asking for anything in return. Let me know what you guys think. I know a lot of you guys are big fans of The Hill. If you haven't heard of The Hill, fine. But people have seen that The Hill will pop up in my YouTube as I'm scrolling on my live streams. Like, oh my gosh, you're a fan of The Hill. That's amazing. Sorry, I was talking about The Hill, but I wasn't showing it on my screen. But the point is that I think I've got some good good information that might change or open people's minds to different ways of thinking. And I hope that's what my channel does. I am here to open my mind to different ways of thinking with your comments. I do digest what you say, and I do think about it. I'm not here to just talk about my viewpoint as someone who's not going to evolve. I am who I am today, not who I was yesterday or the day before, or who I will become tomorrow. So let's all try to be a better version of ourselves tomorrow than we were yesterday. And just understand, with people you disagree with, and people that might operate from a place of anger, or they cut you off in traffic, or they've got their own issues. It's all about us and how we react to the world as it's presented to us, and people are trying the best with the information they have. Thank you so much. Hit the subscribe button and check out my vlog channel. New vlog coming out tomorrow where I talk about the 3 car batteries that were stolen from me and my license plates that were stolen. So I guess they don't like a conservative. Progressive Dave Neal here. Bye, guys.